Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the various principles of management. Students, if you remembered, I have told you that this subject that we are studying, this management subject, it is a disciplinary subject, means it is a discipline. We have discussed about it why management is called as a discipline because it is composed of the various subjects. We have talked about like this also that management is a science because all the principles and techniques that we are using in the term of management, they have been taken by the experience, are based on the practical approach. They are not just on any judgment or any biasness. Likewise, there was the various individuals who contributed towards the management and who given various principles or given the particular area of the management. Various researchers given their views, various researchers done various researches, given various concepts, definitions, many things. Likewise, there were the two major individuals whose contribution is counted in the management at the very early stage and at the very first time, which give the management a shape. Those are the Taylor's, F.W. Taylor and Henry Ford. These are the two persons who at first given the principles of management, whatever the principles should be followed while doing the management practices, what are the techniques should be followed, what should be the management all about, what should we have to done in the management. This all was done by this Taylor and Ford. Henry Ford, as I've told you, the principles given in the management are not on the personal bias. They are on the experience, they are on the research, they are on the scientific approach, means they are on hit and try. Who is this F.W. Taylor? What contribution he have given? This F.W. Taylor is a person who within a very short duration rose from rank of an ordinary person to chief engineer in a company. There he found out that workers are doing good. Even they are talented, they have the capacity, but they are not doing good. Now responsibility comes to F.W. Taylor to make them work, to increase the productivity of the organization. Because F.W. Taylor is an engineer. See, he have studied the science and he is intellectual, of course. So he first time come out the word of the science in the term of management and emphasize the use of scientific approach in managing an enterprise instead of hit and try. Till now, what is happening? The person who is managing, they are using hit and try. As I've told you, we are discussing in our last lecture that what will the difference between my father who is running the business from so many years and earning a good amount. And if I go to that business after learning this management, so what will be the difference between me or he is better or I am better? You will be better students because you know the management, you know the scientific management and how to use the scientific approach in managing an enterprise. Instead, your father have used the method of hit and try. The drawback of hit and trial method is that it is not practical. We don't know this can be happen and not. We just first we try, then we get the result, and after getting the result, again and again after trial when we didn't get the result, then we learn that this is wrong. But after studying this, you can able to identify what is wrong at the first step only. And because this Taylor have contributed the scientific approach in the term of management, therefore F.W. Taylor is also called as the father of scientific management. Scientific management attempts to eliminate waste to ensure maximum production at minimum cost. Scientific management means how to make the better and better use of all the resources, how to better utilization of the resources, how we can use the resources in a better productive way. So F.W. Taylor is the person, the chief engineer, who first time take out the concept of scientific approach. He also called as the father of scientific management, and the basic purpose of the scientific management is to eliminate the waste and to ensure maximum production at minimum cost. Clear, students? I think this gets very much of clear into your mind. Now there were the two things. Scientific, the basic, very good part of this Taylor scientific management, that he divided his approach into two parts. He have given certain principles of scientific management. He given various principles of scientific management. He also given the various techniques that how can this principle can be followed. This is a very good part of the Taylor principles. That Taylor have given principles also, and Taylor also have given techniques also. That how you can implement these principles. So one by one we will discuss about the principles of scientific management, and then we discuss about the various techniques of scientific management. The first principle of scientific management. The first principle is science is not rule of thumb. What does this mean? Science not rule of thumb. Science doesn't mean that you can do anything on the basis of hit and miss, hit and try. No. Scientific study says that everything that you are doing should be based on the practical approach, real facts, and applicability. You continuous experiment to learn the new techniques, and you continuous experience for making your work easier and simpler. Scientific study means in order to come in completion of work, you have to learn the things, you have to come on the practical approach, you have to learn the techniques, you have to learn the process, procedure, you have to do actual what can be happen, and that is scientific approach. Scientific approach doesn't mean that take out the decision on the personal biasness or on your thinking, as sometimes you do. I think so, so I have done this. I feel like this, so I have done this. I feel that he today is very active, so I can give him more orders, more targets. I feel that he is not well, so I give him no. Scientific approach says everything should be practical, should be fact-based, should be real, should be based on method, techniques, procedure, should be learned. Everything should be scientific approach. Based on experiment, researches, should be on real fact. So this is the first principle of scientific management, that science is not rule of thumb. Second principle, harmony, not discard. It means there should be mental revolution. Harmony means to have a cooperation, to have a teamwork is not the responsibility of one or two. It is not like that only subordinate will respect the superior or superior will respect the subordinate. No. It is a responsibility of everyone to maintain the teamwork and cooperation between each other, and to respect each other's role, and to eliminate any type of conflict between them, and to realize the organizational objective. Everyone should be directed towards organizational objectives. The same extension as cooperation on individual means to have in cooperation. It is an extension of principle of harmony, that cooperation is not the responsibility of one or two, it is the responsibility of both management and workers, that is share responsibility and perform together. Fourth one, development of each and every person to his or her greatest efficiency and prosperity. That each person develop to its greatest efficiency and prosperity means everyone do to their best. Resources will be used optimally in full concern. Productivity will be increased by utilizing all the skills of the workers to the fullest possible extent. So these are the four principles of scientific management. That science management is not a rule of thumb. It is a science, means everything should be based on the practical aspect, real aspect, should be based on fact, should be based on the scientific study. Cooperation is the responsibility of anyone. It is a responsibility of everyone to respect each other and to be directed towards organization goals and to respect each other's goals. Every resource should be utilized fully. Every competency should be utilized fully. And organizational approach is always to develop the individuals. So these are the principles of scientific management. Now, as I've told you now only, that Taylor does not have not given only principles of scientific management. He have also provided the techniques of scientific management. And this is a very good part of the F.W. Taylor. Now, what are those techniques? We will talk about one by one about those techniques. Functional formation. As it is written that we have to increase the efficiency of the workers and everything should be based on the practical approach. The first technique that the scientific management gives is functional formation. This is a very important technique and very good technique given by the scientific management at W. Taylor. According to this technique, the work of supervision is divided into several specialized foremen. Taylor believes that one foreman is not an expert in all aspects of work. Therefore, each worker should be supervised by several foremen, those who are specialized in their field. This technique will improve the quality of supervision and will also improve the quality of work and efficiency of workers. Taylor suggested that 8 specialists out of these 4 will be responsible for looking after the planning work and other 4 will be responsible for supervising and execution of work. Understand, students? Taylor says 8 foremen should be there, 4 for the planning, 4 for the execution. These 8 individuals should be specialized in their works and they all are responsible to supervising their work. Now, when they supervise their specialized tasks, so what will be happen? They will supervise in a very good manner and they can be able to identify the problems in a very quick way and able to correct all these mistakes. So 4% are for the planning and 4% are for the execution. Now for the planning, the persons identified by the Taylor is route clerk, instructions card clerk, time and cost clerk, disciplinarian. Route clerk means the person who is responsible or who will plan the sequence of operation. Means in which sequence work will be carried out. Like there will be your lectures, beta. Lectures, one person will decide in the morning you get your schedule. Your first lecture will be of this, second lecture of the when you are in the school. Then anyone have decided now. In the same way, the route clerk is there who will decide the sequence of operation in which the work has to be carried out. Workers are expected to do their work strictly according to the route sheet. Second one, instructions card clerk. That this foreman, what he will do? He will prepare the instruction card for the workers and the gang box. These cards contain all the information about the nature of the work, what is the procedure, what is the material, and what is the detail about the machine. So one person will decide the sequence of the operation and other person will decide the instructions related to the work, that what material have to be used, what detail about the machine, what overall information about the nature of the work. Now third clerk. Third clerk will be time and cost clerks. This foreman, what he will do? He will keep the record of the cost of the operations. That what cost will be done in the operation, what will be the standard time will be taken for the completion of the work. So this foreman will plan about the time. As we told you, what will be the lecture timing, and what will be the topic timing. This all we do with you all. In the school also everything is planned. So in the same way, this time and cost clerk, he will plan about the time of the completion of the work and also keep the record of the cost of the operation. Disciplinarian is a person who enforces the rules and regulations in the organization. So these are the 4 individuals who are responsible for planning of the work. The person is planning about the sequence of operation. Person is planning about the instructions card. Person is planning for the time and cost. And another person is planning for the rules and regulations for maintaining the discipline and systematic performance of the job. Now these are the 4 persons who is responsible for the production. Speed box, who is responsible for ensuring work done, that work will be done on time. He examine the worker's speed, that what speed they require and if they are doing their work on time or not. Gang boss, he is the person who is responsible for arranging all the tools, machines, material ready for the operation. He is responsible for maintenance of the tools, machine and material. Repair boss is responsible responsible for the proper working condition of the machine and tools. And inspector, He is responsible for ensuring the quality of the work. He brings the quality conscious to the mind of the workers. So these are the bosses who are responsible for the production in charge. Clear, students? Now, second technique what Taylor have given, that is standardization and simplification of work. And this technique is really very good, but really very practical. Taylor says that you have to fix your standard. That, for example, I want 90%, that I will study according to 90%. Now, if my standard is only of 50%, then how can I study like the student who is studying for 90%, right? And as students, you decide on your own what percentage you want. If you want 50%, you studied like that, and if you want 90%, you studied like that. So, in the same way, Taylor says, first of all, for the organization, just set your standards. Which quality work you want? You want A quality, A plus, B quality. What are the standards? Mean which particular quality you want, which type of product actually you want. What standards you have set for your work. Now, compare your organizational work of your workers according to that standard. Compare your material, your machine method, your condition of work according to your standard. I want A category work, but I don't have that type of material and machine tools. And I'm complaining to the worker that he is not getting me the A quality work. How can this be happen? I want A quality work, worker is there, but he also required the material according to my standard. So, material, machine method, process, these all things should be according to the standard. Workers, everything should be according to the standard. So, first set the standard and then check whether all the things, method, machines, procedures, public, everything is according to the standard or not. And then decide that you are getting output according to the standard or not. Simplification means eliminate unnecessary varieties, sizes, grades. Keep the thing simple. Do what can be possible. Don't go a lot of varieties. Do whatever you're doing in a best and an optimal manner, which results in the better control of activities. Don't go in that just doing. No. For example, Hindustan Unilever, it reduces variety of shops and which result in increased effective and efficient result for the organization. At one time, every product is producing by the Hindustan Unilever. But he identified that he can't do everything. He have to reduce something. Then he reduced and obviously he increased his effective and efficient result for the organization. So this technique is really very practical. Just what you want, compare your products according to that only. And simplify your work. Make it simple. Do things that are important, that can be done. Not make your work messy, not make work counting. You just don't go on count, go on quality. Check what can be happen, what can be done, and do the work according to it. And this is a very good technique of a Taylor, that is standardization and simplification. Another study that given by the F.W. Taylor, that also very good, that work study. Work study means a systematic and critical assessment of all the operational functions in the organization. The main objective of the work study is to improve efficiency by making optimum utilization of resources. Taylor believes that efficiency can be increased endlessly. He advised work study to improve efficiency. He has divided his work study into 4 groups. Work study means study of the work that the labor is doing. Now he divided the work study into 4 parts. He said, study the work from the 4 aspects. That is method study. Method study means what is the best way of doing the job and what my workers are doing. Are they following the best method? Are the method used by my labor is right? Well, there can be the better method of what they are using. Search, research, do. Then how can the unnecessary wastage of time can be avoided? For how we can save the time we are using for transport or placing the goods from one place to another. How it can be avoided, how the cost of the product can be avoided by changing or there can be the best method to do the operations or not. Motion study. See how many times for performing any of the task your worker is moving. The movements that are you detect your subordinate is doing, are they necessary or they are unnecessary? How you can avoid that unnecessary movements? Is there any solutions of unnecessary movements? For example, if there is a worker who have to he is repairing the car, and for repairing the car, for taking out the tools, he have to come out again and again and take out the tools from the rack, and then he start his work again and again, which obviously wastaging the time. Now solution of this what? He cap to his near one kit which carry the some important cards for, and what happened because of this, he doesn't have to move again and again, and from the same tool that from the same kit he can take all the tools, and which reduces the time of it. So this have to be identified, that the movement that the workers are taking between the work, are they taking as good are their movements are okay, or that movements can be avoided? What can be the solutions to avoid that movements? This will increase the efficiency of the work. The study refers to making a thorough analysis of various motions being performed by a worker while he is doing a particular job. The main purpose of motion study is to detect and eliminate unnecessary movement and to find out the best method of doing the particular job. The study is conducted with the help of a movie camera or stopwatch. Taylor experimented with motion study, and he proved that the productivity of worker can be increased to the extent of about 4 times just by eliminating wasteful movements. Third, time study. It is a technique which determines that what is the standard time should be taken by the worker. It helps in determining how much work an employee should be able to do in a given period. Under time study, the work is divided into series of elements and time taking to perform each element of work. The method of time study depends on the volume and frequency of the work. Fourth, fatigue study. Fatigue study means at what intervals a worker requires a break. So much so that he must be provided with rest interval so that he can regain his lost stamina. And it also helps in maintaining its operational efficiency, because rest interval should be decided through the fatigue study, not randomly. It is studied by observing workers while performing the job, how the long can person can work continuous, and how continuously work can adverse in health, and how much rest time he required. These all should be studied, and according to it, the rest time should be given to the workers. So these are the various studies which has been done, techniques have been given by the Taylor to provide the work study. That is method study, motion study, time study, and fatigue study. Next, very good technique, differential price rate system, or it can be said as differential piece rate system. This technique says that provide the workers, if you want to motivate the workers, and if you want to increase the efficiency of the workers, just provide them according to the piece. If the person is producing more, provide them wages more, provide them bonus. If the person is producing more than the standard output, give him the more wages. The more he produces, more he gets. This will motivate the workers, and obviously this will increase the efficiency of the workers, and it will increase the productivity of the workers. Next, mental revolution. As we are discussing about harmony not start, cooperation not individualism, for that this is the mental revolution techniques. Mental revolution technique says that we should change the attitude of the workers and management board. That they are not the competition, they have to work in the cooperation. They both have to work for the organization objectives. The conditions of working conditions should be created in such a way that manager and workers both cooperate with each other, and they will have the proper teamwork with each other, which will make the organizational environment a very healthy and a very good way, and which will help to increase the efficiency of the workers. Students, actually, when we are talking about the Taylor, Taylor has given a very good approach. He admired also for the scientific concepts he have given, for the scientific approach also. But there were certain drawbacks of this F.W. Taylor. Actually, F.W. Taylor have worked in the production department and is a chief engineer. So he talked about the production department only. All the techniques that we have discussed in these lectures are about the production only. They have not talked about the other departments which are there in a company. In a company, we have finance department, we have accounts department, we have manager, everything. But in the Taylor, I've discussed only about the production. Another drawback is of scientific management is that he only worked as a differential piece rate. He only talked about the quality. He doesn't talk about the quantity he have talked about, but he don't talk about the quality. Like differential piece rate system can increase the quantity, but it can't increase the quality. So there were some of the drawbacks that he didn't talk about all the departments. He talked about only the production department. He talked about the scientific approach, but he didn't talk about the other approaches. He talked about only from the supervisor point of view. So there were the other researchers also who have given their principles, like this Henry Fayol, who identified the various departments in the organization. That in the organization there were the various departments, there were the various working that we discussed in our next lectures about it. And he also given the 14 principles of management. So for today, we wind up with today's lecture. I think this scientific management principles you all are clear with, and I hope you will learn in a better way. Thank you very much, students. We continue further with our next lecture. In next lecture, we will discuss about the Henry Fayol principles of management. Thank you very much.